Good morning and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning. If you're on X, Facebook, or YouTube, joining us live today. So today is what I like to call Recap Monday. And so we're going to recap a lot of the news that happened over the weekend. It's been very interesting. Just what's been going on because now I want to say maybe as of today or sometime this week, the National Guard may be headed to Chicago. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I will have a guest from Chicago to talk to us and join us and tell us a little bit more of, I would say, a different perspective. Because sometimes with the news, they don't always have someone that lives in the area and sees it every single day. So I'm really hoping that this person will be able to make it this morning just to share with us their perspective from an honest perspective, if that makes any sense. So thank you so much for joining us. And Jay Smooth from YouTube says, "Good morning, beautiful Black Americans." It gives all the hundreds and the fist pumps. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Jay Smooth, for always being encouraging. You and I want to say Sassy Lady and Miss Patty, you guys always come in and you're very upbeat and positive. Sometimes Mondays can be like, oh, we got to get back to work. But just know that it's always a great day if you are living and breathing, right? Let's be grateful for the little things. And with that, we have been going over some passages, right? And I wanted to keep the trend going because I was like, what, this is pretty good. It's not a bad thing to open up the day with a little word, you know, of prayer. And this prayer is actually more so something that my pastor came up with at church. And I thought it was really cool that he did because a he took scriptures and he basically uh, put them into a prayer format, right? Something that you can read along with and really be encouraged by. And it's how to honor God with my body and my bod for God, right? So for my mind, God help me fix my thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. So I will think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. God, help me with my ears. God, help me to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. For my eyes, God, I make a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully. For my mouth, God, set a guard over my mouth. Lord, keep watch over the doors of my lips. For my hands, God, help me to do good to everyone, and especially to those who belong to the family in the faith. And God, for my reproductive organs, God, help me to honor you with my body. And for my feet, God, let your word be a lamp for my feet and a light on my path. And I'm just, he took those different passages and he turned it into a prayer that we can continue to pray. So this is something I'll be doing and opening up the show with every day just to give us some encouragement and letting us know how to focus in on our day, right? How to honor God with our body. And with that, we're going to get into one of our first videos. Now, this you may have heard a lot about. It actually happened in my state of Georgia. The plant, I guess that's close to Savannah, the car plant. I think it's Hyundai. Um, and there was a raid by ICE. And now we're gonna see how this is gonna pan out. you know, what's the next steps after this? Um, Good morning, Black Empower. Thank you so much for reposting this stream. And Black Empower says, good morning. Good morning to you, sir. And, I grew up in Southern California, and in Southern California, for those who are not familiar with it, because when they think Southern, they think just Los Angeles. It's like I'm fucking a little bit further south, going into Orange County, Anaheim, which is the home of Disneyland, and Garden Grove, Buena Park, 45 minutes north of San Diego, right? And that's where I lived. I lived in Dana Point near Laguna Beach, beautiful area. And growing up, one of the things that I noticed when I lived in Irvine, California, is that there would be companies that would move in, and they were foreign companies, but they would hire their own workers. So they would literally hire their own people from wherever those countries were. Some would stay behind, but a lot of times they were there to build the companies. And again, some people would stay, raise their families, depending on the positions that they had, or some people would go back to their home country. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out with the current raid that they've done here in Georgia. So let's check this video out.
Breaking news to touch on this Sunday. According to the Associated Press, more than 300 South Korean workers who were detained following a massive immigration raid at a Hyundai plant in Georgia will be released and brought home. That's according to the South Korean government, who made that announcement on Sunday. Presidential chief of staff there said that South Korea and the U.S. had finalized negotiations on the workers' release. He said South Korea plans to send a charter plane to bring the workers home as soon as remaining administrative steps are completed. U.S. immigration authorities on Friday said that they had detained 475 people. Most of them were South Korean nationals when hundreds of federal agents raided Hyundai's sprawling manufacturing site in Georgia, where the Korean automaker Hyundai makes electric vehicles. South Korea's foreign minister later said that more than 300 South Koreans were among the detained. The operation was the latest in a long line of workplace raids conducted as part of the Trump administration's mass deportation agenda. But the one on Thursday is especially distinct because of its large size and the fact that it targeted manufacturing sites that state officials have long called Georgia's largest economic development project. So that is just the latest breaking news from that story that we brought to you earlier this week. The fact that more than 300 South Korean workers that were detained following that massive immigration raid at a Hyundai plant in Georgia will be released and brought home. I want to continue on with some more of these immigration headlines by bringing on here immigration attorney Elizabeth Ricci. She joins us on the show to break it all down. Elizabeth, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. So I do want to pivot, though. I don't want to specifically ask you about that raid that happened in Georgia. Let's take a live look over here. This is in North Carolina, because the question that I want to ask really corresponds with this. Earlier this week, in a unanimous vote, Durham City Council passed a resolution to make North Carolina a city of, quote, Fourth Amendment workplace, and that was in order to increase protections for city workers against some of these ICE enforcement efforts. Now, Elizabeth, I had never heard that term before. Can you explain what that is?
Sure. So the Fourth Amendment is regarding unlawful searches and seizures by the government. So North Carolina is particularly concerned about ICE coming into workplaces and demanding records and demanding employees to arrest for removal. So the concern is that officials want to know, company officials want to know, what rights do they have and do their workers have in that context? And they want to protect themselves and assert their Fourth Amendment rights. So there's a difference between a judicial warrant and an ICE warrant. And I'm actually going to be teaching a class on that to some officials soon. So an ICE warrant does not require probable cause the way a judicial warrant does. An ICE warrant does not allow forced entry the way a judicial warrant does. So it depends on the type of warrant that is presented. And it is very important that employers know the difference so they can inspect the warrants and make sure that they apply to their workplace and that particular date and are legitimate before law enforcement comes into the building to do their inspection and or their arrests.
Okay, I need to stop her right here, just real quick. I know I'm always interrupting. Right? Sorry. And Patty Cakes says, "Grand rising to everyone. Grand rising to you, Patty Cakes." And I just had to stop her right here and share something with you guys because the ICE warrant requirement pretty much does state, I'll make sure you guys can see it. That's the check-in. It says ICE does not always need a warrant to make an arrest, but a warrant is required for certain actions. Under the Immigration and Nationality Act, ICE officers can arrest individuals without a judicial warrant if they have reasonable suspicion that the person is in the United States illegally and is likely to escape before a warrant can be obtained. Okay, so what this attorney's saying is partly true, but not always true, right? Because she's saying, "Oh yeah, an ICE warrant. They don't always need a warrant." And that was what I was listening for her to say. I was like, tell people the truth, but you can't tell people everything, I guess, because you're trying to make money off of something that people can easily Google search. I'm just saying. I don't like the dishonesty, but I'm just trying to give you all the information. Just trying to put it out there. And Dr. C says, greetings, founder. Greetings to you too, Dr. C, and good morning. Thank you so much for joining us here. So let's continue to listen to the
Several
video.
cities across the country we have seen have these concerns when it comes to these raids that are happening. Why haven't we seen this been adopted before? And can we expect more of that in the coming weeks?
I think it wasn't expected before. I think employers thought that they were immune from this type of raid, but as we saw in Georgia recently with the Hyundai plant, that's not the case, although it is the workers who are being targeted and not the employers. And I think we will see more and more municipalities and states be concerned about their companies and their workers and assert those Fourth Amendment rights against unlawful searches and seizures. It's going to be much more commonplace, I expect.
Do want to move on here to another headline regarding immigration and bringing us out to this live image that we have over in Washington, D.C. Earlier,
And I wanted to pause it also again really quick. I just find it fascinating how these cities and states are trying to protect people that are criminals. If you have done something illegal in this country, you are a criminal, period. That's it. That's it. And it's interesting how people are really trying to justify criminal behavior. I think that's the part that I find really disgusting. Because you wanna say, "Well, they did break the law, but they're not like these criminals." No, they're criminals, period, and they have no respect for our country. They need to leave because there are people that have come here legally, have done everything the right way through the proper channels. Hey, Congress, newsflash, if you don't think the immigration policies are right and correct, fix it. That's actually part of your job according to the Constitution. Like, it's your job. It is your job. It falls at your feet. And yet you love to grandstand and go on all these different programs and talk about our immigration system is broken. If it's broken, fix it. It's your job. We pay you. We literally pay you to fix it. But you want to just complain about it and let it go on as if there's nothing you can do. And I need the American people to understand there is everything that our Congress can do, the House and the Senate. And if you come across a representative of the federal house, right? And I'm talking about federal right now. Federal House, federal Senate, not your state officials. And they tell you there's nothing they can do about immigration and if immigration is broken, tell them they need to do their job. And if they're not going to do their job and just make excuses, then they need to be fired. And the way you fire them is you do not reelect them. That's their pink slip. That lets you know they don't need to be back in office. And this is something that we need to do. We need better people in office that want to do the job.
this week we did see a legal aid group that was based in Arizona. So they have sued the Trump administration and the DOJ to preemptively block them from deporting a dozen Honduran children. We're going to follow this story closely, but Elizabeth, I want you to break it down for us a little bit here. When it comes to migrant children here that are, well, the DOJ is trying to deport them, how does that legal process work?
So children are in a unique position. They can often request a benefit called special immigrant juvenile if they've been declared a dependent of the state. In other words, they don't have a parent in the United States who can care for them. but they need to get an order from a family law court first. And if they are in deportation or removal, they're not really that different from that adult defendant. And what I do want to be clear about is that immigration violations are civil. They're not criminal. So those children do not have a right to an attorney in those proceedings. And we have seen cases of 5-year-olds defending themselves in immigration court, and that's a problem.
And then just continuing on with that whole process, let's say they are deported. Is there any kind of steps that are taken to ensure that those children are reunited with family members?
Not necessarily. And often they don't have family members. Sometimes the family members are in the United States or they're deceased. And that's why getting that special immigrant juvenile court order from the family law court in the United States is so helpful, so that if they are removed, they're not just dropped off and having to fend for themselves as toddlers or small children.
All right, we're going to say with some more of this news regarding the Trump administration, back out live to this image of the White House. Earlier this week, we saw a federal judge, this happening in San Francisco. They blocked the Trump administration from ending temporary legal protections that have been granted to more than 1 million people from Haiti and Venezuela. They had been granted there the right to live and work in the United States. Break that down for us, Elizabeth. When it comes to that protection status, why was that granted in the first place, and what does it entail?
So you're referring to TPS, temporary protective status, which is basically a protection for people in the United States so they do not have to return to their home countries that are experiencing civil strife, natural disaster, that type of thing. And the Secretary of Homeland Security this week said that they've reviewed the conditions in Venezuela and that they no longer merit TPS, which if you have any Venezuelan friends or family members, as I do, you'd know that, things like toilet paper are hard to come by. People have basically no rights even to use their own home.
Okay. Now, some people might find this cold. I just want to find out where that's my problem. That's not my problem. Fix your country. Fix it. Don't run from it. Fix it. That's your country. Running over here and siphoning resources is not fixing the problem. It's creating another problem over here because you're taking jobs from Americans over here. Go back to your home country and fix it. TPS, in my opinion, was completely illegal. There were, well, it was paroled in the United States. That was another status that they gave people. And they were actually giving people Social Security under parole in the United States and under this TPS. It's never been valid. Okay. A country that fell apart is not the fault of the United States. It's not our problem. I'm not going to make another country's issues. I got enough issues going on in my own house. I'm not going to take on somebody else's. And so for this attorney to be like, yeah, I've got friends, it's bad and toilet paper, fix your country then. Fix it. Demand it be fixed. How did they get there? Socialism. Yeah, because Venezuela was doing fine. They had plenty of money. They were doing great. And then they put in somebody who put in socialism and their country fell apart. Again, when is that my problem as a United States taxpayer? It's not. It's not. Now, a lot of people might find that cold and they might find that, wow, no, stop it. Go back home and fix your country.
So that's disingenuous. But in any event, so TPS was granted for people from Haiti, from Venezuela, because they met those conditions. And now the secretary is saying that one, those conditions have improved, which they have not. But two, that TPS was being used as a magnet to come to the United States, which does not fall within the reasoning to be able to justify the termination of TPS. In addition, courts have said that the president and the secretary were using the Alien Enemies Act to justify terminating TPS for 600,000 Venezuelans and additional Haitians. And a federal judge determined that there was no invasion of foreign government, which is the requirement to be able to invoke that act. But the Supreme Court, on the other hand, has said that the president can terminate TPS. So we see that Venezuelans and Haitians, especially, are going to be in a limbo in these coming days and weeks because we have different courts making different conflicting decisions about who can stay and who.
Okay, you just heard what she said. A lower court said you can't do this. The Supreme Court has already said you need to stop interfering in the presidential duties. Period. Like the Supreme Court is over these lower federal courts. It's crazy. It is insane what keeps going on. And Spud says, I know this might sound cold, but show me where that's my problem. Spot on. This is the sugar in my coffee this morning. Well, thank you. I know I'm a little spicy, a little spicy this morning. And America First says that's right. And you're absolutely right. Thank you. Thank you. Because a lot of times as American citizens, we're looked upon and says, well, your country is so wonderful. Yeah, we are grateful. Look, as dysfunctional as it is, we're grateful for what we do have, right? But that does not mean that we are supposed to take care of everybody else. It's your job to take care of your country and have it stand up on its own. All of these things that have happened, the temporary protective status, and I'm going to show you the Appropriations Act also. Look, our government, not perfect, right? But under the last administration, they made a lot of bad decisions. I'll say that. They made bad decisions. And we are living with those bad decisions right now. And now we're in cleanup mode. But for a lower court, not the Supreme Court, a lower court to block the actions of the president when the Supreme Court has already said you can't do this and they continue to do it anyway. I'm like, okay, so where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? That's my bigger question.
Must go.
That's really interesting. And I feel like the next question would be, why is this not sort of an open and shut case? And really, who is going to be listened to when it comes to that decision? But we'll dive deeper on that in a later segment, Elizabeth, because I do want to get to one more story here. And that is concerning Kilmar Abrego Garcia. So that case is still continuing on here. But the latest is the fact that immigration enforcement saying Friday in a letter that they intend to send Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the African nation of Eswatini after he expressed a fear of deportation to Uganda. So, Elizabeth, are we just going to keep going down different nations in Africa to try to send Kilmar to?
Mm-hmm. It certainly seems like it. The reason that he was not going to be, it looks like, going to Uganda was because he asserted a claim for asylum. And I think he'll do the same for Eswatini, formerly Swaziland. And reason being that he will experience persecution based on the media attention, everything that's happened to him in the United States, and that he would not be safe there. So this is just a case that's been compounded with errors and legal maneuverings over and over that really have complicated his legal profile. But it does look like that's the location where they want to send him, because he declined a deal to go to Costa Rica.
So, Elizabeth, I know that you do teach some classes sometimes. When we look at Kilmar Abrego's case here, how do you talk to your students about that, especially because, as you mentioned before, it's very unprecedented what we have seen here?
Well, I'm not teaching this semester, particularly because everything is changing so quickly. And I do have a law practice and a family, and I would have to basically redo the curriculum every lesson. But this particular case is unbelievable because it all stemmed from an error by the administration that they were not willing to own up to. And they have just continued to double down and double down. This individual has no convictions. He has a citizen family, and he is the poster child for how not to effectuate a legal case.
Immigration attorney Elizabeth Ricci, we're always glad to have you here on the show. A lot of headlines to get to every single week, so we appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay,
We have some more.
I kind of have to disagree with the attorney a little bit. She's like, he has no convictions. I'm like, ma'am, he was ordered to be deported twice in 2019 and 2023. He was literally given deportation orders to leave the country. He was here at the age of 15, claimed asylum, and what ended up happening is a judge ordered him to be protected and not be removed. That's what keeps happening. Now, he and even during that time, he's committed crimes, right? They found him guilty of human trafficking, and they found him guilty of beating his spouse. So he was guilty under two acts, okay? Trafficking, beating his spouse, and on top of that, allegedly, he is a member of MS-13. Okay, so all those things considered, right? The only thing that has been moving him back and forth is the fact that he was given a different type of asylum protection here in the United States. Now, we reviewed this on my show. And so that's why there's so much happening with this individual. He should be deported. What I would like to see happen is I would like to see his case adjudicated and done, right? You don't get to say, "Hey, I'm going to be persecuted here, so you can't send me here. I'm going to be persecuted." You're going to be persecuted. I think he should be sent back to his country of origin. And if his country of origin is El Salvador, he needs to go there and go to prison, face it up, and be done. And you can't come back here to this country. Period. You're done. You need to go. And Unc says it's crazy how these runners would rather fight America to stay versus going back to the countries of the flags they wave on American soil. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we've all seen it. We've all seen it. We've seen the videos, you know, of them wearing Mexican flags. Now they in some instances they fly the flag upside down. Like it gets crazy. But I wanted to shift and stay on deportation, but shift to Pam Bondi talking about some minor children that the administration has come across. So let's check this out.
Drives up their profit margins. No longer. We are investigating and prosecuting their crimes more aggressively than ever. And Joint Task Force Alpha is the tip of the spear. We have been working on that with Secretary Kristi Noem, Homeland Security. And I cannot say enough good things about Secretary Noem. I was with her in Louisiana yesterday, and she is fighting to keep our country safe every single day. Just this week, Joint Task Force Alpha took 4 major enforcement actions. Right here in Tampa, we unsealed the indictment charging 12 defendants operating right here in Tampa, a massive illegal smuggling ring. The defendants engaged in a conspiracy to bring illegal aliens from Cuba to the U.S. for profit. They coached their clients, including children, who came to airports alone, came to our country alone, were put on planes for connecting flights, lied to Border Patrol agents due to coaching, and law enforcement. They charged up to $40,000 per victim. They used Zelle to transfer over $7 million over the course of this scheme, and I believe had profits, cash of over $18 million. And it's just not the southern border. In Vermont, and U.S. Attorney Drescher is here with us, we indicted Norma Lorenzo, a woman who allegedly worked with Canadian co-conspirators from Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, and El Salvador. Children were transferred to private residences, other airports, and in 2023, according to CBP, parts of Vermont and New York started seeing unprecedented traffic from illegal aliens. Law enforcement officers operating in these areas encountered aliens from 97 different countries, including China, Pakistan, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, North Korea, and Yemen. In the Southern District this week of Texas, and Nick Ganji's here, we secured the extradition of 3 men from Guatemala who have been charged in connection with a mass casualty alien smuggling event. This tragic event occurred in 2021 in Chiapas, Mexico. A semi-truck containing at least 160 illegal aliens crashed, resulting in the deaths of more than 50 people. The cost of human smuggling is huge. So many families are dying. So many people are dying. These smugglers used a variety of vehicles, including microbuses, tractor trailers, and cattle trucks to smuggle multiple Guatemalan aliens, including many unaccompanied minors, into this country. In the Western District of Texas, where Justin Simmons is our U.S. attorney, we just this week charged 4 defendants with their role in a deplorable scheme smuggling unaccompanied children into the United States from Mexico. These monsters behind the operation drugged unaccompanied children coming into our country, giving them THC so they would be asleep when passing through customs. One of the children was overdosed so badly that the child had to go to the hospital. Since President Trump took office, Joint Task Force Alpha has charged 56 defendants, including convicting a monster who attempted to bring in Indian nationals into our country in sub-zero weather through Canada in the middle of a blizzard. This was a family of 4. This family was eventually found dead in a blizzard with the father holding the 3-year-old little boy wrapped in a blanket with his glove covering his child's face, trying to save his life. In June, we arrested a Canadian-American citizen in New York for charging $1,000 for every illegal alien he smuggled over the St. Lawrence River into our country. One of the boats capsized, killing a family, including 2 children under the age of 3. A few weeks ago, we convicted a coyote in Texas. A coyote, of course, is someone who transports illegal aliens across state lines for money. In Texas, we charged him for charging $30,000 for every 10 illegal aliens that he could get get to the Rio Grande. He got an additional $30,000 for every 10 illegal aliens that made it across the Rio Grande alive. That is why we are now expanding Joint Task Force Alpha. It has 5 steps. We will now cover, the task force will now cover our northern border in Canada, of course, and all of our maritime borders. Our incredible partner again at DHS, Kristi Noem, and I are expanding this to include our DEA, ATF, and FBI agents to this task force to give us even more manpower. We will receive more resources to prosecute these cases, and key figures in cartel, human trafficking, and transnational criminals. We will strengthen our collaboration with foreign law enforcement throughout this world to protect not only their citizens, but ours, and return these criminals to American soil for prosecution.
Now, what's going to be interesting about that is because, of course, it's going to be on our dime again. But the bill, the big, beautiful bill, they did put the money in there. It's got to come from somewhere, right? And Black Empower says, I find it so strange that these folks leave their failed countries, then come to America and wave the flag of those countries. Yes, and it happens all the time. But something that I wanted to bring up that Pam Bondi said during her press conference is she talked about unaccompanied minor aliens. And see, I've been talking about this. It's been about 3 years now. And this happened under the 2021 Appropriations Act. And what you see before you now is Title II, Security Enforcement and Investigations, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, Operations and Support. Now, this was done in 2021. It says for necessary expenses of U.S. Customs and Border Protection for operations and support, including the transportation of unaccompanied minor aliens. Let me highlight that if I can. I don't know if that would help. Unaccompanied minor, the transportation of unaccompanied minor aliens. We paid for this. And I've been saying it for a couple of years. We paid for the human trafficking of minors. As she said before, how did these children end up here? They were coached. You can't coach an infant. You can't coach a 3-year-old. You might be able to coach maybe a 10 or 12-year-old, maybe a 16-year-old. Why were these children separated from their families? You're just going to send your kid off with somebody to America to go where? What? And it says the provision of air and marine support to federal, state, local, and international agencies. Keep that in mind. In the enforcement of administration of laws enforced by the Department of Homeland Security. So under that previous DHS, they were trafficking in children. Period. And they used the Appropriations Act to do it. Like, I don't understand why you guys keep talking about law and order in the Trump administration. This is sitting right at your feet. This has been at your feet. And you want to keep talking over it. Like, news programs aren't talking about this. Yes, the previous administration trafficked children. Now you're seeing in different I want to say they've had different hearings. They had a hearing where they said 65,000 calls went unanswered. Why did those calls go unanswered? Because they had already set up trafficking these children. It said they're using international agencies in the enforcement or administration of laws enforced by the Department of Homeland Security at the discretion of the Secretary of Homeland Security, which was Marcus. The provision of such support to federal, state, and local agencies in other law enforcement and emergency humanitarian efforts. The purchase and lease of up to 7,500 or 6,500 for replacement only policy type vehicles. So they were driving these people around. The purchase of maintenance or operation of marine vessels, aircraft, and unnamed aerial systems. So they had drones as well, checking out where people were going, and contracting with individuals for personal services abroad. Now, I know I'm reading this, and you guys are sitting there going, what? Yeah, this happened. This happened under the previous administration. And it says that there was $12,908,923,000, of which $3,274,000 shall be derived from the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund for administrative expenses related to the collection of the harbor maintenance fee pursuant to that section and other, the gobbledygook of here, and here, of which 500 million shall be available until September 30th, 2022, and of which such sums as become available in the customer user fee account, except sums subject to, I won't repeat that section of the Consolidated Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act of 1985 shall be derived from that account, provided that not to exceed 34,425. Yeah. Talking about rental fees. But yeah. And it says that not to exceed 5 million may be transferred to the Bureau of Indian Affairs for the maintenance and repair of roads on Native American reservations used by U.S. Border Patrol. So a lot of that, what was happening in those territories. So that's why they got that money. But yeah, there was $12 billion set aside for this. They literally trafficked these children in our country. And nobody's talking about this. But as you can see, she said unaccompanied minor aliens. So they're finally starting to use the verbiage. Hopefully, hopefully, these babies will see some justice. I don't know if they will. I don't know if us as American people are ever going to see justice on this because it was allowed to happen. And I need you to guys to let that sink in. They allowed these babies to be trafficked. This was not an accident. Unaccompanied minor aliens is not a thing, but they made it a thing because they trafficked millions of human beings into this country without parents. You have a parent. Somebody, look, you've got a mom and you've got a dad. Whether they're together or not, we don't know. But these people were alive. But they either sold their children or their children were taken away from them. One of the two. Still doesn't make it right. And now with the children of Honduras and a judge saying, oh, no, you can't send them back. They have to stay here. No, they need to go back to their country of origin. And you're just going to need to do blood tests and your DNA test. And you're going to have to find their parents or their relatives because they don't belong here in this country. They should not be a burden on us. And people are going to get mad at me again and say, well, you should be more giving. No, these people were trafficked. I need you to hear me. That's illegal. I'm not going to be a part of anything illegal. And right now, I'm being forced to be that as an American. You are forcing criminal behavior on me as a citizen. I'm not down with this. This is too much. It's too much. Trump administration, if you're listening, stop playing nice and go after the real criminals and stop making us all criminals. Stop making us a part of all of this. Because, yeah, you're going after individual people. You need to say the quiet part out loud. That's all I'm saying. You need to say the quiet part out loud. And we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, hopefully I will have my guest coming on to join us to tell us a little bit about what's going on in Chicago. But thank you guys so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News, and we will see you on the other side.
All Sides has created a patented, fair, transparent process to rate the media bias of hundreds of news outlets and writers. We assess each media source and rate them as far left, lean left, center, lean right, or far right, allowing you to quickly identify different perspectives. All Sides uses many methodologies to determine bias, including the Blind Bias Survey, gathering people from all parts of the political bias spectrum and having them read and rate articles blindly, without telling them who wrote the article or which media outlet it came from. Then we take the average bias rating of several articles from a given media outlet for our final bias rating. Another powerful method we use is the editorial review. Focus groups of people with multiple political viewpoints who review the works of a media outlet and come to a consensus on its bias. We also look at credible third-party data, including academic research by top universities. Finally, what you say matters. We gather community feedback on our site every day, including hundreds of thousands of votes on our bias ratings. Our final bias ratings aren't determined by these votes, so they can't be gamed or falsified by any group. But we do analyze those votes for input and look for warning signs that our current bias ratings might be off. All Sides is constantly evolving our media bias engine. The more you participate, the better our ratings will be, and the better our news coverage will be. Go to allsides.com to get involved.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. And my name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. And so I've got one more video before we get into the news from all sides. I'll make sure I don't have any more comments to read. Okay, really good. Caught up. And Patty Cakes, thank you so much for reposting the stream. I wanted to play this video from the El Salvadorian president, and he's talking a little bit about our economy. And I know I was talking about, how our tax dollars are used, but his perspective really was eye-opening as far as how our tax dollars are used.
Told me that the problem is high taxes, but they're wrong. Of course, high taxes are extremely high here in the United States. I give you that. The real problem is not the high taxes themselves, but the fact that they are not even really funding the government. Not even those high taxes, higher than a lot of places in the world, not even those taxes are really funding the government. So who's financing the government? Government is financed by treasury bonds. And who buys the treasury bonds? Mostly the Fed. And how does the Fed buy them? By printing money. But what backing does the Fed have for that money being printed? The treasury bonds themselves. So basically, you finance the government by printing money out of thin air. Well, so if the government can print the limited amounts of money out of thin air, why do they collect taxes? The answer is simple, but it's very shocking. The real problem is that you pay high taxes only to uphold the illusion that you are funding the government, which you are not. It's shocking, but it's true. The government is funded by money printing, paper backed with paper, a bubble that will inevitably burst. The situation is even worse than it seems, because if most Americans and the rest of the world were to become aware of this farce, confidence in your currency would be lost, the dollar will fall, and the Western civilization with it. If the next president of the United States doesn't make the necessary policies and structural changes, sooner or later that bubble will burst. There's still time. You don't have to make the same mistakes we did in the 60s and the 70s. You can still jump before the water boils. Winning the election isn't enough to solve these problems. They will not simply go away as a consequence of an electoral result. It will take a total re-engineering of the government top to bottom. It will entail making difficult decisions. It will be hard. The system will push back, but you have the right to determine your own fate.
Yeah, we have the right to determine our own fate. But what really interestingly enough, what he said was like, your taxes don't fund the government. So does that make me feel a little bit better about what's happening with these unaccompanied minor aliens? Okay. Maybe it wasn't my tax dollars, but you still funded it. I'm just saying, it was still funded, even if it was paper backed with paper. Illegal activity was funded and supported. And it happened through our government. That's all I'm saying. They literally wrote in the Appropriations Act, unaccompanied minor aliens, like nobody was going to find it. And they still haven't found it, which I find disturbing, because I've been talking about this for a few years. If anybody here has followed me and saw that I constantly posted, and then I'm like, hey, we need to pay attention to this. Hey, we need to pay attention to this. Yeah, I might be a little newscaster, but I'm still trying to bring awareness to the fact that our government funded human trafficking and allowed it. Period. That's what happened. You need to look at the previous administration and who allowed human trafficking, and they need to be put in prison. It's very simple, in my opinion. Very, very simple. Very simple. But is that going to happen? I guess that's the bigger question. Will it actually happen? And with that, we're going to check out all sides, right? We're going to check out some news that's been going on. And I found this one interesting, where it says the international postal deliveries to the United States drop 80% after the Trump administration ends the tariff exemption. Okay, let's check it out. And Bobby, thank you so much for joining us here this morning and reposting the stream. So it says here that international postal deliveries to U.S. drop 80% after the Trump administration ends tariff exemption. So international postal deliveries to the U.S. have fallen 80% since the Trump administration eliminated the de minimis exemption, which allowed small packages valued under $800 to be exempt from tariffs, according to the UN organization. The UN's Universal Postal Union, UPU, reported that the sharp decline began on August 29th and is now developing a technical solution to help international postal operators collect the required duties. Air carriers did not want to be responsible for collecting them, and 88 postal operators have suspended some or all of shipments to the U.S., according to the UPU. On September 5th, the agency launched a calculator to help shippers determine the required duties. Ooh. So the Trump administration already ended the exemption for China on April 2nd, causing disruption for Chinese discount retailers like Shein and Temu. On August 7th, new Trump administration tariffs took effect on over 90 countries. On August 27th, the administration doubled tariffs on India to 50% due to the country's continued purchasing of Russian oil. So this is how the media covered. The story was covered by many mainstream outlets from the left and center, but all sides did not find coverage from the right. That's interesting. I wonder why. Why aren't we covering this everywhere? We need to cover it because everybody needs to know, right? Because people do purchase things overseas. And I would really like to see the perspective, right, from the right, so that there's a balanced conversation, right? Good, bad, or indifferent. We need to have complete conversations. And I see that our guest has joined us for our political segment, and I'm really excited to have this person on. You may recognize this person once I bring them to the stage, but thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News. And now we are going to have a political update.
Let's get it on!
And thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News for our political segment. And we have somebody here, and I'm so excited that they agreed to be on the show. So let me bring them to the stage. Good morning.
Hi, Dr. Nichols. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I hope you can hear me okay. And I hope, I can hear you. So I always have to do like a little bit of a sound check.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, let me know. Sorry.
Yeah,
I
you
woke up a
sound
little bit late.
so
So
early.
now.
But thank you so much for joining us. And please, I know a lot of people may recognize you, but please, if you could introduce yourself, let us know where we can follow you, and then we will get into a topic of your choice.
My name is Zoe Lee. I am the founder of Chicago Flips Red, and you can find me on X, Mr. Steal Your Wig 1, Instagram, Mr. Steal Your Wig 1, YouTube, Zoe Lee, and Facebook, my name, Zoe Lee. So, yeah, my website, chicagoflipsred.com, and then Flip Chicago Red as our platform.
Okay. Wow, yeah, and I've seen you a lot. You got the attention of the president, and he is determined to come to Chicago. So I will let you bring it up, and then I'll ask you questions afterwards.
Okay. Well, as you see, Chicago is man. Well, we got a problem. We got to take care of our children. That's the best way I can say it. And we have not been doing a very good job. My generation has not been doing a very good job taking care of our kids, and our kids are out of control, and it has been like this for a very long time, and no one can control it because primarily the Democratic Party doesn't want to control it. That's how they make their money. They're going to continue to have this genocide in our communities, and no one wants to bring it up or talk about it because they make it a racial thing, and it's not a racial thing. It is something that we need some type of law and order, and we have a military, and we use our military, and we use our kids, and we use our military to fight overseas. You were talking about the tariffs. We use our military to fight overseas battles overseas that don't have anything to do with us. But the battle right here in our country, we can't use our own military that we're paying for.
Right, right. And it's very interesting how Priska, when I hear him talk about it, he's like, "Oh, crime's not that bad." And I was talking to my husband. I said, "You know what? Crime might not be bad where you are, but crime can be very bad where someone else is." So if you're not taking the entire conversation into perspective, it can look distorted. I mean, is that how you see it?
Yeah, but also, like, let's be very clear here. Prince, you're the governor of of the state of Illinois. You're the governor of a big state. You're the governor of the one of the third biggest city in the country. What do you mean? You mean you're not seeing crime? You see crime. You know crime. You look at crime. You have plenty of money into the family court system, so you know who's primarily in the family court system. We are. You understand? So don't sit here and try to put on this narrative like you don't know that crime is bad when you are using money to talk to disruptors who are not doing anything to continue to keep it down. See, the issue was Fox News and outlets like yourself were not supposed to be talking to people like us. It's three sides to a story. It's y'all
Right.
side, it's the resident side, or the other side, the left or right, whatever you guys want to say, and then it's the truth. And the truth is Chicago is out of control, and it's been out of control. It's been out of control. My mother was born in 1949. My mother was telling me about violence back then. You see what I'm saying? My mother was born here in this city. This city is rooted in crime, mob mentality, political. Like, I mean, the Dan Ryan has separated us from going over to Bridgeport back in the day. If black people even went past the Dan Ryan, you would get killed. I mean, we have Mayor Daley was one of the worst mayors, one of the most racist mayors on earth. I mean, like, we gotta be real and call out real stuff. Okay, now granted, the white man that they always blame and say that's putting us down are the white men like Pritzker, are the white men like Father Flager, are the white men like Joe Biden who did the crime bill, Bill Clinton. Like, we got to be 100, and then you have the black sellouts like the Jesse Jacksons, the Al Sharptons, the Maxine Waters, all of these people who could have made sure that the Democratic Party wasn't the Democratic Party. I mean, wasn't the party of the single mother. You divided our community. We have no fathers. We have no men. Men right now scared to step up. Men right now are scared to step up. You know why they're scared to step up? Because why? They killed Fred Hampton. They killed Martin Luther King. They killed X. They killed anybody trying to liberate us. I used to work for Dick Gregory. They didn't kill Dick Gregory. What they do with Dick Gregory, though? They broke him. They had him. He owed the IRS to the day he died. You understand what I'm saying? Because he was trying to liberate us. The Democratic Party makes money off of our oppression. They make money off of us killing each other. They make money off of our organs. They make money. We are the bank of oppression when it comes to the Democratic Party, with the help of these useless black leadership and elite that do not help. We have a sexual crisis in our community. Everybody's freaked out. It's weird. You understand what I'm saying? We're dealing with weird education going into our schools. We're dealing with no one that understands the U.S. Constitution. They don't understand that U.S. Constitution is our Bible. That U.S. Constitution is what you need. If you don't know anything else in life, you need to know your amendments. You need to know the Bill of Rights. You need to know that we are a republic, and you need to know your history. The Democratic Party does not care about us at all, just like them foreign countries that Trump continues to tariff. He needs to tariff every community, every country that is aligned with Mexico, every country that's aligned with China, every country that's aligned that came over here, that 22 million illegals that came over here and got everything. The ones who, the Indians should be tariffed 100% because they never go back on their visas. Y'all got, it's hella y'all back, it's hella y'all over here on expired visas. Y'all taking everything, y'all messing up our tech, all of those things. You got our jobs, you don't know how to, y'all messing up Uber Eats like crazy. Y'all got to go home. So if y'all don't want to go home, then yes, Donald Trump needs to tariff all these countries a lot of money, because at the end of the day, when y'all need any type of, when it comes to war, who do y'all come to first? Us. We can't even use our own military to take care of our own situations that's happening right here in our country. We have a genocide right here. Y'all want me to pray and cease fire for Gaza, but we can't cease fire for Inglewood? We can't cease fire for Auburn Grisham. We can't cease fire for Chatham. We can't cease fire for downtown. Like, what? I mean, we can't. It's just only ceasefire in Gaza? You gave them people, Biden and Donald Trump, both gave them people in Gaza time to come here to seek asylum. They said, the hell with that. I'm staying right here. This is my land. We've been fighting for this land since before, in the Bible. They've been fighting for Gaza and Israel. That's a never-ending war. But you want us to focus on that when we're dealing with a war right here in the United States of America, in our community, and in a genocide. We're killing each other off. Y'all got these white liberals that don't want us, that keep want us to have abortions. They want us extinct, and they're going to do it in any type of way. You got half the community thinking that they gay and they not gay. You've got crazy. I mean, at this point, Donald Trump need to declare martial law and let everybody sit in the fucking house.
Well, okay.
Sorry.
All right. Look, no, you're fine. Because see, this is the reason why I started this news program. Because see, if you were on Fox, they're not gonna let you go off like that. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna let you go off ABC, NBC, CBS, like all of the other channels. They are not gonna let you just get it in. And I'm so grateful that you came on my program so you just get it in, so people can really hear you, because you live there, right?
Right.
We don't live there. I mean, Spike Lee actually made a movie called Chirac. Now, some people might laugh at that movie, but that movie had an undertone where it was like these individuals are killing one another and no one's stopping it, like really stopping it. And I've seen some videos that you've done just trying to show up to meetings, and where you've also addressed Brandon Johnson. I know you haven't brought him up yet, but as a mayor, I know a lot of people have wanted him to step down, and I have actually somebody, because it is a nonpartisan position, but the Redemption Party does have this person's back when they run. So we do have some people that are interested in the position, but I wanted you to talk a little bit about Brandon Johnson and just some of the policies that he's put in place that you feel may have helped or harmed Chicago citizens.
The only thing that Brandon Johnson did to help Chicago is bring everybody to Chicago to remove him. It's probably going to be the most historical moment when this man gets out of office. Like, I want him to go to prison. Every day I pray that Donald Trump has Cash Patel and them come lock this man up, who has stole billions of dollars of our money that was supposed to go to our communities, that was supposed to go to all of Chicago. He's the worst to ever do it, but he's a preacher kid. So he's a corrupt preacher's kid, and that's exactly what they do. You understand? They don't do nothing for the community. I'm not saying all, But the ones that are out here in the forefront, these are celebrities. We have an issue in our community that everybody wants to be a celebrity. Dick Gregory used to say entertainers are nothing but pieces of shit. And every day I realize that, because there's no way in the world that we dominate entertainment like this, but we're slaves.
You're
Like
not wrong.
it doesn't make any sense. But when it comes to Brandon Johnson, as soon as he came in there in 2023, he automatically dedicated his life to the illegals. He dedicated his life to this plan called the New America's Plan that Rahm Emanuel implemented when he was in there, and it basically was our replacements, and we're not taught. Like I didn't know about the New America's Plan. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know about any of these things because I wasn't political. I didn't care about,
Right.
All I wanted to do was get my own money on the side and do what I needed to do. I never wanted to depend on the government. But when the government knocked down my family's building, who you got to go to? You got to go to the government, because
Right.
y'all violated the 14th and 5th Amendment. Now, when I violate any type of law, y'all put me in jail. So I'm just trying to make it make sense. But anyway, going down there to ask that man for help, and he's a new mayor, and he always speaks about his black wife. It used to be his black wife, his 3 black kids. He's raised on the west side of Chicago. He's for his people. But watching him only do for the illegals. There's a group of people that's in the city of Chicago City Council. I call them the Hispanic KKK. They're the Progressive Democrats, Latino Caucus. He worked with them. He worked with CTU. He worked with Jackson Potter from that really run CTU with Stacey Davis Gates. All he did was dedicate his first year, honestly, to trying to bring as many illegals here and displace as many black elders, black people possible. Honestly, they started with our communities first. They dumped all these illegals in our community. While he would be down there lying, you would have floods of people. Now, I didn't go down. When I was going down there, I was protesting outside first. So I wasn't going inside of the building yet. I was outside because the city of Chicago knocked my family building down. But when I start seeing so many people in there arguing, like people from the south side, people from the west side, he brought everybody together. That was like, how are you going to dump these people in our communities? And I wasn't understanding until Miss Jessica Jackson and George Blakemore brought me inside to have me talk on the mic. And when I started realizing, like, how messed up we were if we did not get off this Democratic plantation, we were done. You understand? Like, we were done. Like, real talk. And people always say, well, you got to go independent. And it's like, we can't even get 10 people to come downtown anytime. But we're scared we want to argue back and forth about Donald Trump being a racist when Joe Biden was the biggest racist on earth. How do you sit here and let a white man, and Charlemagne, you should have clowned this nigga from the beginning to the end and say, how do you say, if you want to vote between me and Donald Trump, then you're not black enough. What you did the 94 crime bill. You wanted segregated buses in the 80s. Like, how do you sit here and say this when and you all let him say it because he blue? Because y'all radio stations and stuff is ran by Jews. And they telling you that you can't do certain things, because if you say certain things or do certain things, you may lose your job. So you let this white, reckless, racist piece of white shit tell us that if we're not black if we don't vote for him, when you are the reason why our men have a sexual identity crisis because you forced them niggas to be gay up in there for sorry.
No,
Right
but
there.
you're not wrong. And see, one thing leads to another, right? And what you've explained to us is the way the foundation was built. The foundation's been built for us to destroy one another and then blame one another for that destruction, right?
Yes, we have self-hatred. We have
Yeah.
we have literally are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you teach people, and this is just a saying that I've had, if you teach people how to hate one another, ultimately they'll destroy one another. And that's what we've seen. And that's what's been done from the very beginning. If you even look at the house Negro to the field Negro, you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? On just that basic premise. But getting back to Brandon
Brandon Johnson.
Johnson
Sorry.
and JB Pritzker, it's okay. I actually filed with the U.S. Attorney for Illinois and the DOJ to bring them up on charges of violation of Title 8, Section 1324, of actually harboring illegal aliens. And see, a lot of these mayors and governors don't understand, and I did it for California and also did it for New York. Haven't heard anything back yet, but because they are literally writing policies to infringe upon the people, not only infringe upon the people, but actually violate federal law, because those laws, just Title 8 itself, Section 1324, says that if you are in violation harboring somebody that you actually know is here illegally, you're in violation of federal law. You know, with Pam Bondi, I know she's busy. She'll get to it, but that's why she's got all these different U.S. attorneys. I'm really hoping that Brandon Johnson and Pritzker will be brought up on charges, because that's what they're doing. And in the face of the citizens, they're using money that should be for the citizens of the state and the city of Chicago and Cook County on people that shouldn't even be here.
Yeah, the sanctuary city, well, you know, in the city of Chicago, they suppressed us from not being able to vote. That's why, like, that was the first time, like, we really made the news. Like, we shut that city hall meeting down. Like, me, Miss Jessica, Mama Doris, because it's like how we watched the whole thing, you know, even before this happened. But and the same person who made sure that we didn't vote on that referendum to make sure that if we wanted the city to still be a sanctuary city, Brandon Johnson, you appoint him as the Park District Superintendent. And since he's been the Park District Superintendent, a boy was shot. Two boys were shot and killed at a park in the West Side pool of a guy who you guys hired, who got off a year prior for shooting and killing 2 black dogs. So he just kills anything black. So yeah, and but he was hired as a lifeguard for the Park District, right? Then we have the 63rd Beach, and it's really been taken over by the Venezuelans. But there was a spot over there where there were drummers, black drummers, been drumming for decades. You go and put a fence around there so they can't drum anymore. But you got the Venezuelans all on 63rd. But this is a man who's part of the Hispanic KKK.
It's called La Raza. Yeah, they call themselves La Raza.
Yeah,
the race. Yes.
So you put this man as the Park District Superintendent. All over Chicago parks, you put this man, the very same man that put his hands on Emma Mitz, a black alderman, threatened 2 aldermen down there that said that I will not pass anything in zoning if you sit here and vote, if you come in here and give them a quorum so we can vote to see if we want a sanctuary, still want to be a sanctuary city or not. You let this man bully everybody, do what he wants to do, and then upgrade him to be the Park District CEO. Then go and replace him with another Hispanic KKK who's just as worse as him, who was a Cook County commissioner, and you can go look up his tweets. He using the word nigger. So I'm just saying this is our leadership. Our leadership is putting these people in place. You understand? This black leader, this black piece of shit, this black man who loves to bring up white supremacy they can continue this weird narrative playbook that's just about to be played out. It's played out. Governor Pritzker is a racist, but Brandon Johnson is a prejudice against his own kind. If he's really a native, but I think he adopted
lineage,
Haitian.
right? Is he of
Yeah.
the lineage? That's the question, right? Just because you look like us doesn't mean that you are us.
And you go hard for Haiti. He go too hard for Haiti. He go too hard for Haiti, like he think he a Chicago barbecue.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So my thing is, we are under attack, and we have a Marxist as a mayor. We have a corrupt. We have a mayor who was adopted by a preacher who probably wasn't his father, probably some shit too. So you understand what I'm saying? So you're dealing with the corrupt clergy. You're dealing with a corrupt CTU union member who a lot of people need to look up. Local One. It's a video the Illinois Policy did on CTU in 2018. CTU went over to Venezuela, and you really need to understand why all of Venezuela is here. We have a crisis when it comes to who's trying to conquer Chicago. Is it Haiti? Is it Mexico? Is it Venezuela? Is it Ecuador? Right. Is it Israel? Is it Palestine? Because that's all they're concerned about when you've got local residents and kids who cannot read and killing each other because they can't read, and they play Grand Theft Auto all day. Then they come out here and start missing their ops and shooting grandmas and aunties and kids. And Governor Pritzker, the governor, and our Attorney General Kwame Raoul, who we never see, comes on TV and say we don't got a crisis.
Wow. And it really all starts, to your point, at the local level, right? And so I know you may not be able to answer this question, but do you think it would be good for individuals to run as a slate? And what I mean by that is if you've got somebody who runs for mayor and then have, collectively other people to run for aldermen at the same time, but they're all running on the same messaging, right? Because I'm not sure if your alderman positions are nonpartisan. Because see, I started the Redemption Party, and we actually won a town. And what they did is they ran as a slate. They all ran together on the same messaging, so they could just flip the table, right? And just put it in a completely different party as the majority. And now the town of Roseland is actually doing successfully. So I guess that's my question to you. Would that be a course of action?
It has to happen. Like we have a platform that we put together, Chicago Flips Red platform. It's a conservative platform, a conservative independent platform, but we are. I tell people this: the city of Chicago, the state of Illinois, I'm Republican all day. I have to be. I have no choice. Mm-hmm. On the federal level, I got to look at policies. I got to look to see when when it came to voting for Donald Trump, I voted for Donald Trump because I had no choice to vote for Donald Trump. 2 reasons. I already had him. And when I was living in Georgia during COVID and all that, and I know he handled that the way that I would have handled it if I was the president of the United States, even though he was getting bashed and beat up like he's doing like now. But this time we see it, and we're pushing back because you're not going to bully our president of the United States of America. He won by a landslide because y'all was about to put an Indian woman up in there trying to talk about she was black because she was an AKA, knowing damn well that her daddy was Indian, just in Jamaica, and her mom was Indian. They're Jamaican Indians, just like they're American Indians, just like they're, you know what I'm saying? Like they're British Indians. There's just Indians, but don't try to sit here and make it like that lady was a black woman. And knowing that I'm out here fighting for my mother, who is a black woman and a Chicago native, and you sit here and ignore our crisis and we got going on. So I had no choice but to flip the federal government to red, because Blue let 22 million people over. Blue ignored us. Blue gave $400 billion in resources. Blue keeps talking about we're oppressed. No, we're not oppressed. Give my money. I'm not oppressed. You got me. You're oppressing me.
Right.
I'm unhoused because of you. I'm not unhoused because of Donald Trump. I'm not unhoused because of the Republican Party. I'm unhoused because y'all won't settle these cases with these evidence against the city of Chicago and y'all elected officials and y'all building department. So what are you talking about? So as far as here, yes, we are on a we have a questionnaire that we actually had 2 people. We had actually 15 people reach out, but only 2 people they filled out the questionnaire. One person is running for U.S. Senate. Another person was running for a state rep. So we're looking for like a Chicago flip red Senate. I mean, a Chicago flip red slate. I have a governor in mind that I like. He's not even out here yet. I'm trying to push him to I have we already got our mayor. I can't. I'll let you know when it's time.
Look, I got somebody running for mayor too, so let's go.
Yeah, you understand? And then
we need choice. We need choice. We need choice.
You need choice, and honestly, you need choice, and you need partnerships.
Yes,
and we don't have that in our community. You understand? We don't have lobbyists. And we're going to the Congressional Black Caucus. We're the only conservative group that's going to be at the Congressional Black Caucus that actually got a table, but they at first was ignoring us.
Oh yeah, because they're heavy Democrat. They're heavy They're heavily Democrat.
To get my operations manager, who was white, to reach out to get this table.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I wrote them first. Personally, I did. My mother took me to the Congressional Black Caucus when I was young. I had a table at the Congressional Black Caucus selling. I was always be an entrepreneur. My mother had me making, are we making our ancestor proud? I had ornaments. So I've been to Congressional Black when I was 18, 19. I was a part of big Blacks in Government in DC. So I know how that works. I just was a vendor. Doing my own business at the time. Right. This time I'm coming on a political scale. So, and I'm coming as nowhere near what y'all want me to be. See, they want me, they because I'm Black, I'm a woman, my sexual orientation, you already gonna place me as a Democrat. I'm independent. I'm independent, first of all, and I align with the Republican Party because y'all got me fucked up over here on the Democratic side. And I feel like that is how we all have to work as all American citizens. We all need to register as independent and then align yourself with what makes sense. But these people work for us. Right. We don't work for them. Absolutely. And what I looked at this was the best. This was the worst customer service I ever had in my life. So I built a machine to take down this machine so we can get people in there who are public servants and don't want to be entertainers. A politician is not an entertainer.
Exactly. And I'm glad you said what you said. And I definitely, as the Redemption Party, we want to partner with you in Illinois. Like I said, I've got a team in Indiana, so they're right next door. So I'll be, bringing people to you. And we'll be discussing it.
I called you the other day, but it was a Google Voice.
Okay.
That's the real number. Okay, because I wanted to make sure it confirmed the date.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, we need that. It's partnerships. I'm all about. I'm a for-profit. I'm for people, but I care about my children. And I care about my elders. And if we don't plant those seeds, which is our children, and we don't continue to let it water them so they can blossom, we're going to lose our history. And that's what it's about. And our children are going to lose their way.
Yeah. And we want to make sure, to your point, that you plant the good seeds so you reap a good harvest.
Yeah, because these seeds that we got out here now, Trump got to come and shoot some of them. Some of these kids ain't gonna make. These kids are, some of them are soulless, and I hate to say that but they're soulless because of this Democratic Party, because of this government, and the Republican Party as well, because they didn't step up to the plate.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were, because somebody explained to me a little bit how Chicago works. Even most of the Republicans, they were
Oh yeah.
Democrats that just became Republicans, right? The rhinos,
Rhino.
just to look like there's equal representation, but there really isn't. And
Oh,
it
they
just,
can't stand us.
yeah,
They can't
it's
stand
phenomenal.
us.
Yeah, it really trips me out how there's so much criminality. Like, I thought LA was bad. I thought New York was bad. But like they've literally done movies based on the criminal cartel within the government within Illinois. I was like, what
Yeah, we're
is
dealing
wrong?
with, like I tell people all the time, like, you gotta be a different type of breed to go against this city. And I used to be a former savage, and I've changed my ways, but I literally had to go back to that way in order to fight this city, because they do not care. They take an oath. The Chicago machine, and the Chicago machine is Democrat and Republican. They take an oath to that machine. They take an oath to corruption. They don't care who they hurt, and they're going to make sure they hurt us first, and with the help of our own people.
And that's so sad. I want to kind of reach out to my audience. All right, you guys, we're going to be wrapping this up. So if anybody have a question for Zoe before I let her have last words, that would be great. So it's kind of cool. I have the comment section so I can read you their questions. Nobody's been, throwing in questions yet, but Mark from the Soil, thanks for reposting the stream. And Tatas, thank you for reposting the stream. But yeah, thank you for joining me here and just explaining it, because again, the mainstream media, they're not going to give you a section where you can just go off. Hate to say it like that, you know what I'm saying? Just and be yourself and be authentic and honest. And I'm really grateful that the president did say, hey, I've seen two ladies and they got red hats on like me, and they're saying we need to come to Chicago. I find it fascinating that people are like, how dare he send help there to fight the crime there? What? Do you hear yourself? Do you hear yourself? Like, look, whatever it takes, people want to live in safety. Even the people that are in the crime areas, they're I want to say committing the crime, but even some of those people are like, I'm not going to say the quiet part out loud, but we do need help. We need the assistance. The National Guard is just a level of security so the police can do their job. That's it. That's really what everybody wants here. But at the same time, and this is another question I have for you. I actually have relatives that are officers in South Bend. And my thing is getting back to the community policing, right? Getting back to actually having that community enforcement. So if something does happen in the area, you've got your constituents and you've got members of the community that feel comfortable enough that they can call that officer and say, hey, I've seen some illegal activity going on over here. You might want to check it out. Things don't look safe. We've lost that. And it's become this us them mentality. But unfortunately, they're paying the criminals to still be criminals. That's the scary part. Am I wrong on that?
No, you're absolutely right. And it's big business. You know what I'm saying? Like Nino Brown said, it's big business. It's the American way, but it's really big business. It's a democratic way. And that's just, it really is that, I tell people all the time, people need to watch New Jack City now.
Oh, it's so relevant. That was a documentary.
It's super relevant. That's one of my favorite movies. I watched it when I was a kid. I snuck and watched it as a kid. And when your brain develops, when you're young. So that's my favorite movie. That's my alter ego. I'm Nino Brown when I gotta fight these people. But a lot of gems are in there from just, and that's what the problem is. The police, there are bad apples and everything. I have some great police friends,
right? But
it's also some terrible police people out here, and they take an oath to that police. They don't matter. That they can. Right now, there's a officer. I know they're about to leave. There's an officer who killed his partner. right?
Oh.
Because a gun was missing. They
Okay.
went and did a tactical thing,
Mm-hmm.
and these two boys, they said, ran upstairs. Now, a lot of people say this is BS, and I believe it's BS as well. But the one shot was shot, and it came from her partner. They said it was friendly fire. It was not friendly. He intentionally killed this lady. But they've got a boy locked up right now for her murder. Now, this is where the wrongfully convicted happens, and they be in there for 30 and 40 years, and then we have to go and pay, right? You don't mess this boy's whole life up because he's still over there, but we still got a chance because it hasn't been a year yet, and we could get him out of there. But they don't want to get him out of there because they're trying to cover up for this murderer cop.
Right.
So this is what we're dealing with in Chicago.
Wow.
So we have to bring in the federal intervention, and that is Donald J. Trump.
Yeah. And I think, in my opinion, when I see law enforcement and government officials pushing back really, really hard, I was like, what kind of crime do you have that you really don't want us to see? Do you know what I'm saying? There's something that you're hiding, because if you weren't hiding, you'd be like, hey, come here and help us. You might not have a lot to do, but hey, we welcome the assistance, right?
Exactly.
If you were above board, but we all know you're not above board. You don't want it, the microscope crawling up inside of you, as you should have a whole colonoscopy at this point. We need to know where all the dirt is. I mean, I'm sorry to be graphic with my audience.
No, you absolutely
that's
right.
The only way to really explain it.
It's our tax dollar. We spent $158 million in crime prevention this year. Where? Show me. I want to see the receipts. I want to see the receipts.
Of where it's going.
It's
going somewhere.
Who are the people that are preventing crime?
Because
kids are getting killed on an average. No kid. Kids, we got 30 to 40 to 50 kids killed a year. That's a lot of kids. And it's probably more than that. You understand what I'm saying? But if you're getting 50 kids killed a year, you don't think that's a problem?
Yeah. One is a problem. Two is a problem.
They're not growing up. We're losing our kids.
Yeah.
Either from abortions, because you're pushing abortions, from trans, because you're pushing trans, or we're killing each other.
Yeah. It's a death cult. It truly is. It truly, truly is. And a lot of people don't, think about depopulation, right? And replacement migration. Now, with depopulation, and we'll just isolate this to Chicago. I'm not going to broad brush it, but we'll isolate it there. They have created the ecosystem to allow one community in particular, and it is Black Americans, to destroy itself, right? And stand back and say, well, there's nothing we can do. They're killing each other, right? And then Brandon Johnson says, oh, we need work programs and we need this. Well, first of all, we got to get rid of the guns and we have to get rid of the crime. And that's easily done, but you don't want to do it because, to your point, Zoe, it's a moneymaker.
It's a moneymaker.
And they don't want to lose that money. They don't want to lose that money because guess what? You're getting paid to put programs in place, but you're not using that money for the programs.
At all.
You're pocketing it and putting it somewhere else.
My mom just said no audits. They don't want to do no audits.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Can you imagine if Doge?
It needs to happen. I keep praying for Operation Greylord. I don't know if you're familiar with Operation Greylord, but Operation Greylord happened in 1984 here. Yeah, it was on the Cook County side, and they arrested prosecutors, judges, Cook County sheriffs, postal workers, lawyers. It needs to be on the same side, just on the city side. City and city, CTU. You need CTU, CPS, Chicago, City of Chicago, Cook County, and honestly, like the city of Harvey, Dalton, all of these people need to be audited. They need to be, the feds need to come in, the Department of Justice, it need to be Operation Greylord 2.0. They could call it Chicago Flips Red, Zoe's Way. I don't care what y'all call it, but the feds need to come in and come lock up these criminal politicians. We're dealing with a RICO. Right now, everybody want to clown Thug, right? About everybody keep posting all his private conversations that should not be out here. You understand? But y'all had that man sitting on a RICO for all them years. And while y'all fully committing RICOs, Fannie, you committed RICO too. Y'all all committed RICOs, and y'all are all out here trying to put everybody's business out here. Y'all don't care. I don't care what Doug said on that phone. That wasn't our business.
All right now. All right. You've called it. You've called it.
It's RICO time.
All right. Let's go. Let's go. And I'll let you have last words.
Thank you for just giving me this platform. I'm welcome. I'll come on anytime. Danielle will as well. We have other members too. Vashawn, that's one of our youngest conservative members. He's a good dude as well. Mr. Dennis. So we have it's a movement. It's a move. People try to make fun of us. It's 8 of y'all. It's 8 of us with a nationwide following. We have a national following. And we got millions of members.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, the president recognized you.
Yeah.
And got everybody in Chicago on notice. Okay.
Yes, because he's the only president that listened to us. We were down there for 2 years, me and Miss Jessica fighting about our properties. We campaigned to put that man in office. I'm very happy with my decision, and he has heard us from Danielle testifying before Congress.
Yes.
From us, we've been to DC a few times. We're going to Congressional Black Caucus. We stand with him trying to end birthright citizenship with the 14th Amendment. He's trying to fight this voter fraud. He's trying to do everything. He's the only president that talks about sovereignty. Yeah. Like, come on now.
Yeah. And he needs our help.
And he needs our help.
He can't do it by himself. That's why. That's why
y'all said that's like y'all used to say with Biden and Obama. He only can do so much. Well, Obama did whatever he wanted for the gay community, and forgot about Trayvon Martin. And then you got Joe Biden, who let his crackhead son run the country and let crack come to the White House. I got arrested at the White House for a warrant, but he had crack going there. So I mean, at this point, and we had Dr. Fauci, who was a serial killer, and y'all pardoned him. So I mean, at this point, y'all gave them all the passes.
Right.
My man can't bring in the troops, so we can stop killing each other.
Right. And what it will do, like I said, because the National Guard is that security presence, it'll give that form of safety. But again, it will give the officers the opportunity to actually go out and root out some of this crime. But again, we're going to see how much of it gets rooted out and hold their feet to the fire. So thank you so much for joining me.
We're going to have to arrest them.
Oh, absolutely.
He's gonna probably have to arrest them, and I'm ready for it. But they're probably gonna be the first sitting mayors to get arrested, besides this lady who stole in New Orleans, because she was tricking on her man, her side nigga. But
yeah, heard about that. Look, there's so and why do y'all look like us? This is bad, because then people want to make it a racial thing, and I'm like, no, this is a personal thing.
They are the real welfare recipients. They take it. Politicians,
the corporate
this
welfare,
supposed to be a part-time job. Y'all are the real welfare recipients. Y'all don't have any type. Y'all think this is the most money y'all ever had in y'all life. Y'all don't know. Y'all just dumb, and y'all are embarrassing. Y'all embarrassing us. So this right here is a fight. When people come to me and say, why you always want to get on Brandon? What are you talking about? We have to hold our own accountable. Y'all hold me accountable if I do anything wrong.
Right. Right.
Y'all
Absolutely.
got y'all telling President Trump that he's a convicted felon for what? Because we can get into that another day. But like for real, for what?
Yeah. Yeah. It's in the actions. Like, what are you
Yeah,
really doing and getting done? At the end of the day,
nothing.
a lot of people might say, well, his actions aren't matching up. I was like, well, he's arresting people. He's getting crime down. There hasn't been I don't think there's really been any killings since he's brought in the National Guard in August. I think it's been like what, 3 weeks? Close to that?
Yeah, and one just recently happened with Dakara, I think
Yes.
Thomas, with the illegal
Hmm.
aliens, you know what I'm saying? But no. And my thing is, if you would if they would stop, if the media would stop with these fake protests and all this stuff that only white people are doing, not one black person on any of these protests. We basically have told this man, without telling this man, except a few of us, that yes, we need the National Guard. Yes, we're tired of getting knocked upside our head. Yes, it's the like we. I'm trying to figure out why we don't have any businesses in our community. Like, I mean, it's a lot of things that needs to happen. But the first thing is to end this genocide within our community.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
everybody, yeah, and there's some people. I rather have my U.S. military. My godson, lived went to the inner city here. Corliss, one of the worst schools out here. He was in military school when he was younger, and he always stayed with ROTC and stuff. When he turned 18, he enlisted into the service. I think it was in the Grand Lakes or whatever that is. But he enlisted there, Great Lakes. Then he left and went to now he's stationed in California. He
Okay.
purposely did that because he knew that
Mm.
as a young black man growing up on the south side of Chicago, he was not going. It could have been he'd go to jail. He'll end up having a baby that he didn't want to have a baby. Be stuck with a baby mother he don't want to have a baby mother with. And he wanted to build a career. He didn't want to be a drill rapper. He didn't want to be any of those things. Him and a few of his friends decided to enroll in the service.
Wow.
You understand? Imagine
Mhm.
if you bring my godson back and he got his military stuff on and he's trained. He was a gamer too. You understand? He
Right.
trained. He all of that. Now he going back to his very same neighborhood, and people that he grew up with and stuff say, "Man, I'm proud of you." You know how
Mhm.
many people he may inspire? You
Right.
don't want us to inspire each other.
That part. That part. All right. All right. Well, thank you again for
Thank you.
joining us here on
Yeah.
Unfiltered Vision because we could talk forever.
All
But
right.
I'll make sure to communicate with you so you have my direct line,
All
right? So we
right.
can do this again. And so thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News. And I'm looking forward to having you on again.
Thank you, Dr. Nichols.
Okay, thank you. Okay, guys, and that was Zoe from Chicago Flips Red, and definitely give her a follow on X. And I wanted to bring up a comment from Jay. He said, "We appreciate the Chicago Flips Red crew. Thank you, Zoe, for coming by and speaking to the family. What a great show today. The best straightforward news on the internet." Thank you so much for that. Yeah, because I just, you get to the point where you just got to let people say what needs to be said in a raw format because different platforms, they're different. I'm different. I want the raw material. I want the raw emotion because life's too short, and we need to know who's out there, who's doing the good work, right? And Zoe and Daniel Carter, they're definitely out there doing the good work, right? And then there are other people who are pushing against that work being done. I find it fascinating that I haven't seen Al Sharpton. out here pushing for the security of the Black community, right? He hasn't been out here saying, hey, we do need the help. We do want things better. Where is everyone? That's the bigger question. Where are the people who always cry racism? Why aren't they out here saying we need better for the Black community? Because at the end of the day, and this is my opinion, you want the Black community to ultimately destroy themselves. And those are just facts. It's sad facts, but it's facts nonetheless. So thank you so much for joining us here on Recap Monday. Tomorrow we will have Tell It All Tuesday. And I'm looking forward to the information in that show, right? And just going over the news program. So remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you in the next one.